So recently, I published my review of the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, and I had a lot of mixed feelings about them to say the least. I wasn't very happy with them for the price, and I even ranted about how noise canceling is becoming a mere marketing ploy, and that there are a lot of companies that will include it for the branding and half-ass the implementation entirely. Well, I received a lot of feedback on that video, and all of it was valuable in convincing me to do a follow-up video on the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro. Now, a lot of you were very passionate and confident about these buds, and while my thoughts on it were entirely subjective, of course, since it is a review, it is all based off of my own opinions and my own experiences, I want to clarify some of my points and then talk about how I feel about these after further testing, since I've been using these almost daily for the past while after that review came out. So, was I wrong about the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro? Let's discuss. So, to sum it all up, I essentially said that the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro sounded pretty good, but not much better than the Galaxy Buds Plus. That is to say that they do sound better than the Buds Plus, but not good enough to justify the $100 difference in price. Though I do also recognize that that's not the only thing that's new about these that makes that increase more justifiable. I acknowledge the gesture controls, the much nicer case, the great comfort as well. Noise canceling just wasn't there for me either because even at the high setting, from my experiences at least, it just felt a lot more like a volume boost than it did like something that was actually actively trying to cancel out noise that was going on outside me. And I also mentioned that the battery life is a disappointment in comparison to the cheaper and almost as feature-rich Galaxy Buds Live, which I did also review quite recently, and I did have a more positive review for those. In other words, they just didn't really seem like a good value to me because of the rest of Samsung's own lineup already being so good and the competition around this price tag having superior noise canceling features too. I never meant to imply that these sounded bad because I don't believe that at all. Though it seems a lot of people got the impression that I was being unfair towards these or just putting the more budget friendly options on a higher pedestal than they deserve to be at in comparison to the Galaxy Buds Pro. It was certainly not my intention, and I tried to watch my tone in that video when giving my thoughts to not give that impression, but that wasn't the case. I wanted to clarify that I did always like these, just didn't think that they were worth the $200 for the reasons that I've already outlined a little bit earlier. And now, I review every pair of earbuds in the exact same way. I unbox them, I take the build into consideration, the comfort, how gestures are implemented, and how easy they are to use in general. And if they have features like virtual EQ, noise canceling, ambient noise, and more, then I do my best to do these justice by testing these under different circumstances and things of the like. I also test the battery life to give an estimate for how long they'll last through constant usage. Now, there was one comment in particular about me basing my thoughts on the sound quality from just how one genre sounded with these. Now, this is verifiably false, as I definitely mentioned in my review video that I tested a variety of genres, and I even named the ones that I did. And I always end up testing things like hip-hop, pop, orchestral metal, and more. I usually give my general thoughts on what to expect sound-wise because there are many people who only like one or two genres of music. So I cover the ones I'm more familiar with, and then I try to give you my thoughts on how these performed based on any given genre, so I do try to cover those bases too. Either way, I had great things to say about the sound regardless, but I think that the frustration really came from my comparison of the Buds Plus, considering how I made that comparison. But generally speaking, this is how I do my testing. So now, this is beside the point. I felt like it was still worth noting. I have spent more time with the Galaxy Buds Pro since a lot of these comments did inspire me to give them another go and really decide on whether or not I would continue to feel this way in the long term. And some of my thoughts have certainly changed. So hear me out here. And I have noticed a lot better audio separation when it comes to more complex genres of music. Things like orchestral, for example, and even certain subgenres of metal like black metal. This was especially true with something even more niche than these genres, such as biking chants, as I'm going to call it since I don't really know the name of the genre Exactly. However, these earbuds are more capable sound-wise than I gave them credit for, and that's the entire point of what I'm trying to get at here. And I found myself enjoying the sound a lot more, actually. Noise canceling is also more potent than I gave it credit for, and I think that this is where I faltered the most in my original review. I previously tested these in my room with pretty much only my PC fans making noise, and then the engine in my father's old van, and in my filming studio, which was sound treated. I shouldn't have expected noise canceling to really somehow overpower the sound of my father's band's engine, but I also couldn't have noticed much of a difference in what were pretty quiet environments. So then, when going out on walks with these and just walking around my home with them, I had a great experience with these as they would easily block out conversations going on next to me or behind me or just like in the other room or even in the same room on the side and TV sounds and things of the like. They also handle wind noise and crowd noise quite well, actually. However, I wasn't entirely wrong because there is still an unwanted volume boost that I am not a fan of when I turn on noise canceling, and that is something that has still remained true to this day from my experience. And yes, after a while, cabin pressure was still a thing that bothered my ears. And also, I found these to be less comfortable to wear for longer periods of time with different size ear tips, and I have tried swapping them out. And at first, I thought that the standard ones fit me the best since they were actually sticking in my ears and not coming off. But then after a while, it just felt like none of them were actually working so well. So these do slip off of my ears a lot more often than before, or just feel more loose in my ears with smaller or larger tips. So that's kind of a negative change, if anything. So what stayed the same here from my previous review? Well, battery life is still not that great in my opinion. Touch gestures are still great here too, and nice to use. They're very responsive. I still stand by the build as well. It's very nice, and they still look quite great as well. And I am going to vouch for the build and the changes that Samsung has made to the overall design of these buds and the case in general. That is going to be for sure. So in this conclusion, I wanted to thank everybody who commented with the counter arguments and your own experiences. I appreciate knowing when I could be wrong so that I can correct things, and I acknowledge that I was still overly harsh on these on my last review. So I do apologize if I wasn't fair towards these, as I wasn't entirely fair. I do acknowledge that. And I did have very high expectations for them. And after spending more time with these became more of an acquired taste, I want to say. While I didn't love them so much or really couldn't appreciate them so much when I first got them, spending a lot more time with them did help me appreciate them more because I was able to use them under more circumstances and things like that, which did make me appreciate how they performed a lot more. So my new verdict here on these is that there's more value to these than I initially thought. They sound a lot better with certain genres, and that virtual EQ is very welcome too. Noise canceling is going to be quite good with these as well, and I wouldn't let my jaded self convince you otherwise. Now, I'm going to be leaving this particular video linked to my original review so that hopefully some of you listening to my thoughts can still reference this one so that maybe you can get like a first impressions out of that one and then come back over here to see how I feel about them now. I mean, that could be helpful in some way, and I very much hope that it is. Now, with that said, if you are interested in purchasing these, I will be leaving affiliate links down in the description to Amazon, of course, and there is going to be a lesser link too in case you're trying to find sales on the Galaxy Buds Pro. And I'm also going to be leaving a link to ABUNDA, which is going to be great if you're trying to finance these at all. No credit card required, super simple financing. So links to that down below, of course. And now, with that said, I'm going to have all of my social media here on the side, but do make sure to subscribe for the Tech Summit podcast that takes place in here. And now we also have a Discord channel as well, or server, I should say. So I definitely encourage you to stop by. Links to that down below. I like to stream on Twitch on the weekends too, so why not stop by and yell at me over there. Also, there's going to be my Instagram and my Twitter if you're into that too. But with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you all later. Enjoy.